So this is actually probably one of my favorite services of the year. We've done this, I mentioned earlier, the last 3 years. And it's just an opportunity for us to sit and think about our lives, think about what happens in the coming year. And we'll be talking about that a little bit. So this year, I turned 40 this year. And I've actually, I remember I had some friends that when they turned 30, they're like, oh my God, like it was just this stopped the world. And I don't know, did you guys ever feel that? Did anybody else like? So, I turned 40 and it wasn't a bad thing. I'm not freaking out about it. In fact, I feel really, really good about it. But turning 40 and like the 6 months leading up to that, I became aware of like, I don't know, and maybe some of you, I've asked some of you this, so I know this to be the case, and I've asked a number of people this, like, did you feel like a sense of seriousness? I'm not scared, I'm not freaking out, none of that stuff, but just a sense of like, it's time. Like, it's just time to do the things that I've talked about my whole life. It's time to do the things, just a sense of seriousness. And so I actually thought about my life more in the 6 months leading up to my birthday and I thought more intentionally and more intensely about my life than probably at any other point in my life. And in the process of doing that, I read a number of books, one of which was a book called Halftime by Bob Buford. Anybody ever hear that book? Oh gosh, please, if you like yourself, go get that book. Basically, his whole point is like, look, the first half of your life is just like you're just living and you're figuring some things out and you're learning some lessons. And then somewhere between like 38 and 45, 37, 45, somewhere in that, there's a window in there where you begin to transition from the first half of your life into the second half of your life. And he calls it halftime. And he says in that window of your life, you really begin to make some serious decisions. And at that point, you look back and one of the things I told Sherry is like, I've lived like 39 years now. And I finally feel like I'm just ready to start living. Like I've learned one or two things and I feel like I'm just ready to start living. And so probably some of you in this room can identify. And some of you are like, I have no clue what you're talking about. It'll happen. And it's actually a good thing. But nevertheless, in preparation for this birthday, I read a book called Halftime by Bob Buford. And in it, he talked about St. Augustine, who was an early saint in the church. And St. Augustine said that asking yourself the question of your own legacy, in other words, what do I want to be remembered for? St. Augustine said, when you start asking yourself this question, what do I want to be remembered for? That's the beginning of adulthood. So, I read that. I thought, well, cool. I'm asking myself that question, so it must mean that I'm an adult now. So I felt good about that. My hope is that as we, over the course of these next few minutes, as we're talking about this together, your life, that you will ask yourself some questions like, what are things that are really important, things that I can do in the coming year that will actually help me to make a difference in my life and the lives of my family and friends around me. So I read a story this week about a guy who lost his life, literally lost his life, and it was really unnecessary, and it was really unfortunate. This is how it went. He walked off of this cliff. This happened on Christmas Day. I don't know. Can you guys see this? Like, see the edge of the cliff? And these are all rescue workers down here. This dude, he was in his mid-30s, and he literally, it wasn't suicide. But he literally walked off the edge of the cliff. Now, I'm going to read to you from the report that NBC in San Diego, how they wrote this up. This is what they said. A man fell off a cliff to his death on Christmas Day while apparently distracted by his cell phone. The dude was looking at his cell phone and walked over a cliff. Witnesses stated seeing someone distracted by an electronic device, and he just fell over the edge. He wasn't watching where he was walking. He was looking down at the device, and he was declared dead at the scene. Just fell right over the edge of the cliff. The victim was in his 30s and plummeted 60 feet. Now, here's the unfortunate thing. There were some people who were standing up here, and they saw this whole thing transpire, and they actually were able to scramble down that 60-foot cliff to get to him to try to help him. So it wasn't like an immediate drop-off. It was just kind of a sloping drop-off. So if he would have been paying attention, he could have worked his way down that cliff, but he was paying zero attention, looking at his cell phone, and walked right over a cliff. Unbelievable. And I'm reading the story, I'm like, this guy lost his life because he wasn't paying attention. He absolutely lost his life because he was distracted by little things, and he lost the most important thing. Is that not crazy? I mean, how many in here have done something silly while looking at a cell phone? Maybe you've driven off the road, or maybe you've walked into someone, or maybe, anybody in here ever done anything like that? You're looking at this little thing, and you get distracted, and you almost make a really big mistake. Geez. The sad thing is, when I read the story, I realize it's a metaphor, potentially a metaphor for a lot of people who are losing the most important thing that you have because we're distracted by little things. The most important thing that you have is the gift of life. Like, once that's gone, it's gone. Once your life is gone, oops, there's not a mulligan. You don't get a second shot at it. You get one life, you don't get a practice run. And the thing that concerns me about my own life and about lives in general is that if we're not careful, we're going to walk off the edge of a cliff and miss the most important thing in the world because we're distracted by the little things. Now, let me throw this question out to you. And no need to speak out loud. I just want us, this is kind of a service and a time to do some self-reflection. If you look back at this last year, are you happy with the progress you've made? Are you happy with where the things that have happened spiritually and physically? Are you happy with the financial progress? Are you happy with the way your job has worked out, the professional development? Are you happy with that? Are you happy with the state of your marriage? Are you happy with the state of your relationships? Are you happy with the way that are you happy with the way that you have progressed over the course of the last year? Would you say, as you look back over 2015, would you say that you're close to the edge of the cliff? And it's a good thing you looked up now, because if you didn't, you'd fall over? Or would you say that you've fallen over the cliff? Or would you say that, actually, as I look back at 2015, I'm pretty happy. I've made good progress. Spiritually, I'm in a better place than I was in 2014. Emotionally, mentally, professionally, my marriage is good. Things are well for me at the end of 2015. If you can say that, I may give you a high five. And I believe that lots of people can say that. My question is, can you say that as you evaluate 2015? So not everyone is a fan of New Year's resolutions. And I actually understand that. Will Smith a few years ago said, he said, I don't do New Year's resolutions. He said, if it's a good goal, you should start now, right? Don't wait until the new year to start now. And I completely agree with that. However, right, the new year is a great start. It's a great time to rethink some things and kind of reorient. And I think, it's a great time, especially for us as followers of Jesus, to get our minds around what are the things we believe God is calling us to be? What are the things that we need to address moving forward in this new year? Now, every year, the University of Scranton, the Journal of Clinical Psychology is published out of the University of Scranton. And every year they do research on New Year's resolutions. And this year they actually published a helpful visual to help us get our minds around that. And we've put it on our Facebook page. You can actually go there, facebook.com/mychurch180. But this is a visual, all right? And I don't know that you guys can see all this because maybe the light is shining on the screen, but I wanted to just point some things out to this. The top 10 goals, pretty much pretty much consistently the top 10 goals are to lose weight, to get organized, to spend less money, to enjoy my life more, to get healthy, to learn something, to quit smoking, to help others, to fall in love, and to spend more family time. Those are consistently in the top 10 New Year's goals for people. Now, let me just show you this. Right here. 45% of Americans make New Year's resolutions. So if that were true in this room, about half of the people in the room are going to participate in this exercise today. I hope it's higher. But I know that not everybody participates. But I encourage you to do it today, if for no other reason than to humor me and to humor the person beside you, okay? All right, so 45% of people typically make New Year's resolutions. Look at this. 39% of 20-somethings actually keep those resolutions throughout the year. 39%. Now here's something. 14% of 50-somethings keep resolutions the entire year. In other words, the older you get, the less likely it is you'll keep your New Year's goal, right? Now, I'm going to say something about that in just a minute. Here's a couple other things, right? 46% of New Year's resolutions are kept for at least 6 months. So 46% of people who set a New Year's goal actually keep it for 6 months. You know what happens? You know what the 6th month is? Summer. Right, your mind, like, it's summer. You know who says that? All right, okay. All right, sorry. So 46%, so we do good until summertime hits, and then everything kind of gets crazy. And here's what's crazy. Look at the drop off. 8% of people who actually make New Year's goals actually keep them for a whole year. 8% of people who actually make a New Year's resolution keep them. Now, when I read all this stuff, a few things, again, this chart is posted. You can see it online, facebook.com/mychurch180. But as I read that, there are some things that stand out to me, 4 different things. Number one, 45% of Americans make New Year's resolutions. I'm like, what about the other 55%? Like, are you okay with your life just like it is, or do you want to get better? Like, as you look at your life, where you're like, yeah, man, high five, we're doing good. Like no need to change anything. Right? Or maybe you're like Will Smith. Hey, I don't need to make a New Year's resolution because I've already started doing the right things earlier in the year. So if that's your case, high five, that's awesome. The second thing that strikes me is that the older you get, the less likely it is that you'll achieve your goal, right? 14% of people over 50 actually keep those resolutions the entire year. Let me just say something. Do you remember Moses in the Bible? Remember Moses? Do you know how old he was when he actually started his biggest work ever? You know how old he was? 80 years old. Like, if you're over 50 and you're not setting goals, you need to look at Moses. Like, this guy was 80 and was just beginning to do the biggest work of his life. That's pretty significant. I just hope that I pray to God that when I'm 50 plus, that I'm still thinking my best days are still ahead of me. I'm going to do my best work. I want to be in the 14%, right? How about you? Oh my God. Are you serious? One more time. Like 14%, yes? Okay, good. Yeah, the third thing that kind of raises my eyebrows on this, I'm like, only 8% of people actually meet the goal that they set? Only 8%? And then, of course, I pointed this out just a moment ago, that there's a huge drop-off halfway through the year, and that's summertime. And we're actually going to do something today that will help us, I believe, as a church to pick up and go finish the second half strong. Now, as I look at all of this and I read these numbers and read through all that stuff, it looks to me like people are getting distracted and falling over the cliff. Like, we start off good. Like, yeah, this year spiritually, I'm going to do some really good things. I'm going to, I'm going to pay attention to reading my Bible, and I'm going to serve people who are less fortunate than me. And I'm going to, with my relationships, I'm really going to invest into building some healthy friendships. And I'm going to be a great husband or a great wife, or I'm going to lose some weight, or I'm going to save some money. And we start off really great ideas, but somewhere along the line, we get distracted and life kind of gets crazy. Does that happen to anybody in this room? And we fall off the cliff. I mean, we lose the most important things because we get distracted by the little things. Now, I do not want to wake up and realize in 26, like at the end of 2016, I do not want to wake up, and I don't want you to wake up and realize I've lost a year. I just lived the whole year and I'm not better. I'm not a better husband. I'm not a better man. I'm not better financially. I'm not better physically. I'm not smarter. Gosh, I do not want to end up there. And for crying out loud, I don't want our church to be there either. So this is George Lucas. Anybody know who George Lucas is? No. Yeah? All right. George Lucas, if you don't know, he's the guy that came up with Star Wars and the Indiana Jones. By the way, a few years ago, he sold the whole Star Wars thing for $4.2 billion to Disney World. That's kind of a cool thing to happen. I read a couple of weeks ago that this guy has not been on the internet since 2000. He does not have Facebook. He does not have Twitter. He does not do email. You know how he corresponds with people? He takes a pen. Remember what those things are? A pen and a piece of paper, and he writes, and he puts it in an envelope, and he licks it, and he puts a stamp on it and he puts it in the mailbox, and 4 or 5 days later, that person gets a communication. Huh? I mean, what a loser, huh? Jeez, right? I mean, 15 years, this dude has not been on the internet. I mean, he's actually done some pretty significant things in the last 15 years. In fact, on December 6th of this year, he received the Kennedy Center of Honor for a lifetime of artistic achievements. Now, if you, on this Tuesday, December 29th, on CBS, you can actually see him. They're gonna show this award ceremony in which he receives this award for a lifetime of artistic achievement. All right? Let me just read to you a little bit of what that is all about. Quite simply, this is the Kennedy Center chairman who will be part of that ceremony. He said, quite simply, our honorees, including George Lucas, represent the voices, the soundtracks, and the stories of our personal lives and memories. I mean, George Lucas, every one of us in this room, for the most part, have seen or are influenced to some extent by his work. Then there's the Kennedy Center president, who's Deborah F. Rutter. She says, when I look at this year's outstanding slate of honorees, I'm struck by a powerful common theme. Artists as history makers. Artists who defy both convention and category. I mean, this year, even the president will be at this is a big, big deal. This sounds to me like a group of people who have not been distracted. They've not been distracted. They've not fallen over cliffs. They've basically identified a handful of really important things that they wanted to get done, and they've pushed a bunch of other distractions off of their plate. I mean, setting the silly stuff aside, setting the peripheral stuff aside, they got to work and actually accomplish something of huge significance, if you're a Star Wars fan, right? Now, this is an important line. Listen to this. Because he did what few people are willing to do, he is now able to do what few people will ever do. Because he was willing to not participate in things that most people are participating in. Because he was willing to not do the things that most people are doing. Because he said, I've got a handful of goals and I'm not going to be distracted. He's now actually able to live and influence people and enjoy a quality of life that few will ever enjoy. Maybe just about 8% or so of people, right? I mean, I'm blown away by the fact that only 8% are actually keeping the goals that we make. Now, I believe this, that you can't have everything. I'm going to need a little help on the slide here. Sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. This is Solomon. I want to read it again. Would you read it with me, please? The sluggard craves and gets nothing, but the desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. I mean, the sluggard is the person that, by the way, it's always great to use the word sluggard. Don't ever pass up a chance to use that word. Great word. I encourage you to use it a lot in 2016, right? The sluggard, this is the person, they sit around and say, man, I really want to do this, and someday I'm going to do that, and I hope to do that, and yeah, I'm going to get that accomplished, and they want all this stuff, but they end up getting nothing. But who gets it? Who gets the thing that they want? The diligent. The desires of the diligent are fully satisfied. That's the 8%. These are the people who say, this is the thing that God is calling me towards. This is the thing that I really want to do. And they just get to it, and they're diligent about it. Now, I want to be one of the 8%, and I want that for you too. I really want that for our church. I want that for my kids. I want that for my family, my friends. Now, 3 reasons why people typically don't achieve their desires, the desires of the diligent. Let me show you. It's their goals. It's not clear. There's no plan, or there's no support. Let's just talk really quickly about these, and then we'll get to work. Scranton University, they do their research this every year on the New Year's resolutions. They say people who make clear goals are 10 times more likely to achieve them. Did you know? So what we do in just a little bit, if you actually write something specific down, and we'll try to give some help on that, but if you write something specific down, you're 10 times more likely to achieve that. So for instance, saying, I want to save money this year. That's a great idea, but it's a terrible goal. I want to save money. Great idea, terrible goal. I want to save $1,000. Great idea, great goal. Fully fund your emergency plan, Dave Ramsey, right? Saying, I want to lose weight. Great idea, terrible goal. Saying, I want to weigh 200 pounds. Great idea, great goal. Unless you're 4'9", then that's not a good goal. So let me let you into something this is really behind the scenes of my life, but something that I'm working on. For years, I've said, I want to write a book. And this week, I will finish my first book. This week, I will do that. Because I got super specific. I did this, right? And everything changed. So for years saying I want to write a book. Someday I'm going to write a book. Someday I'm going to do this. Someday I'm going to write a book. Someday I'm going to write. It never happened. It'll happen this week. It'll be finished this week because we got super specific. Now, in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to get super specific and put some things on paper that you can actually look back in 2016 and say, I did that. The second reason that people fail to actually get accomplished what they set out to do is there's no plan. You want to lose weight? Great. How? You want to take your marriage to the next level? That's a great idea. How? You want to take your spiritual life to the next level? Phenomenal. How? You've got to answer this question, how? What's the plan? So, in this process of writing for myself, the plan was this. I will get up at 3 a.m. every weekday, and I will write for an hour and a half. I will write 2 chapters a week. I will hit a total end product of 35 to 50,000 words. Right now, as of today, I'm at 34,094 words with one more chapter to go and a postlude. Nailed it. Why? Because there was a plan. So the question simply is this, this is your goal. You guys know this, right? We all know this. I'm talking to you, you're like, I know this, but have you done it? What's the plan? How are you going to do that? I'm going to encourage you today to be very specific, write the goal down, and then take some time this week to sit down and write out a basic plan. It doesn't have to be complex. It doesn't have to be complicated. You just say, I want to lose weight. Here's how. I want to take my love life with my wife to the next level. Here's how. Do that this week. I encourage you to do that. Finally, people fail to achieve their goals because there's no support. Look, this is important. Again, there was a study that was published in the Journal of Consulting and Clinical Psychology. They basically followed people who signed up for a weight loss program with at least one friend. So that these people said, I want to lose weight. Will you come with me? And they started this weight loss program. Listen to this. 95% of them finished the program, and 66% kept the weight off. Now, in case you don't know, 80% of people who go on diets typically gain all of that weight back and oftentimes more. This study said 95% of the people who went through this program finished it, and 66% kept the weight off just because they went with a friend. It's a really big deal. On the other hand, those people who went alone, only 76% finished, and only 24% of the participants kept the weight off. The point simply, that's a weight loss thing. But it matters spiritually. It matters in your relationships with God, with your wife. It matters in conflicts that you might be facing. Whatever we do, if you do it with someone else, you're so much more likely to succeed. So the question simply is this, who is going to support you? Who's going to encourage you? Who's going to help you as you work your plan towards accomplishing that very specific goal that you write it down alone? For me, it's been the lovely and talented Mrs. Peterson, and I have 2 friends that along the way have been a part of this achieving this goal that was set out. So I would encourage you today to write down your specific goal, and then this week, figure out a plan, just a basic plan. Here's how I'm going to do it, and identify 2 or 3 people that you can travel with towards the accomplishment of your goal. Now, a verse that I've written on my mirror is from Galatians 6:9, and it's a great verse, and if you're allowed to write on your mirror, I'd encourage you to write it on yours, right? It says this: let's not get tired of doing what is good. At just the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing. Say these last words with me. If we don't give up. Like you remember, about 49% of people do really, really good until June, and then something happens. Boom, like the bottom falls out, and only 8% finish. You know that's going to happen, right? If you don't give up, you're so much more likely to accomplish your goal than if you do give up. Does that make sense? Yeah, right. Now, here's where we get really specific, and this is, again, one of my favorite times of the year. And we've done it the last 3 years, and I actually got a text this morning from someone who said, I can't be there this morning, my kiddos are sick, but can I please still participate in what the church is doing this year? And the answer is absolutely yes, right? We've gotten a lot of good feedback on this, and what we're getting ready to do is a chance for you to talk to yourself, to write something to yourself. And so what we're going to do is take time right now here at church to write down our goals for 2016. Now, here's how this works. You're going to write down, we're going to give you time right now in church, but you're going to write down your specific goals. We're going to turn the lights on too, so don't freak out about that, right? You're going to write down those goals 3 times. In your seat, you found 3 pieces of paper and 2 envelopes. I'll explain. You're going to write down your specific goals 3 times, and 1 copy is going to go home with you. You'll take that copy home with you. If you can't write on the mirror, maybe you can hang it on the mirror, okay? That's a good thing. Now, the other 2 copies will actually go into envelopes. You're going to put them into envelopes. You're going to put your address on those envelopes, and you're going to seal them. The only person that's ever going to see these is you, all right? We're going to mail copies of your goals to you in June, and then we'll mail you another copy in December. Remember what happens in June? That's when most people quit. That's when 49% of people, like this huge percentage of people, they're doing really good in June, and then all of a sudden something happens and they just quit. Well, guess what? In June, you're going to go to your mailbox and you're going to open up, and there's going to be a letter from you to you. And that letter is going to be you telling you, these are the things I want to accomplish this year. It'll be kind of a big deal for you, all right? So what we're going to do is we're going to give you time right now to go ahead and do that. And if you're not done afterwards, you can stay after church, you can finish them, you can take them home and finish them, you can bring them back next week, and we'll mail them to you. We'll take care of all that, all right? So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to invite Mikey Dela Cruz, and he got a really cool Christmas present, and he's going to bless us with his Christmas present. This year he got a ukulele. How about some ukulele music? Mele Kaliki Maka is the na-na-na. All right. So here we go. The first thing we want to do is on your papers, we're going to hit the lights. Go ahead and hit the lights, team. And let me apologize in advance. Next year, we will have clipboards. For those of you who are writing on the backs of seats and floors, and I apologize for that. We will have clipboards for you next year. But nevertheless, this year, let's talk about physically, okay? Physically. In 2016, what is the one thing that you want to do? Do you want to run a marathon? Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to gain weight? What do you want to do in 2016? The one thing that you want to do, start writing. Here we go. And if you're not done, you can always stay after, or you can write them and bring them next week, whatever your pleasure is. We'll mail them to you. Financially, in 2016, I want to. What is the thing? Maybe some of you are like, I've never tithed. Maybe that's a goal for you this year. You're like, I'm going to make tithing a part of my financial budget. I'm going to do that this year. Maybe some of you have some debt that you want to pay off. Maybe some of you don't have an emergency fund. Maybe some of you want to go to Financial Peace University for the first time ever in your life. What is the thing that you want to do at the end of 2016? You're going to look back and say, I did it financially. Go ahead and write. Relationally, in 2016, what is the thing that you want to do? Is it maybe you're going to start dating your wife, or maybe you're going to spend more time with your kids, or maybe you're going to repair a broken relationship with your parents or a friend, or maybe there's a difficult conversation you need to have with a coworker or a neighbor. What is the thing that you want to do in 2016 relationally that you'll be better because you've done that? At the end of the year, 2016, you want to look back and say, in 2016, I nailed it relationally. Go ahead and write. Did you know that most people, when they graduate from college, don't read anymore? They quit growing, expanding mentally. Like, they just stop and they get all their information from Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a guaranteed way to be stupid the rest of your life. Can I get a witness? Right, so mentally, like, what do you want to do in 2016 that's going to expand this wonderful gift called a brain that God gave you? You're going to read a book, you're going to go to a seminar, you're going to go to a conference, maybe you're going to write something, right? What is it that you want to do in 2016 that's going to make you a bigger and better person mentally? Go. What is it that you hope to accomplish? Is it you're going to start a new business? Are you going to get a new job? Are you going to get promoted? Are you going to, what is it in 2016? Maybe you're going to do something for your employees. What is it in 2016 that professionally you want to accomplish? You want to sit in December of 2016 and look back over the course of the year and say, you know what? I did it. What is that thing for you professionally? Go. In 2016, what is it? Some of you, maybe you've never read the Bible. This will be a great year. By the way, in the very back at the cafe, we've got these. These are called the Daily Bread. You can grab one and pick it up. It's a daily reading that includes scripture. We'd encourage you to do that. We've got Bible reading plans out on the back. If you've not read the Bible, maybe in 2016, this is your year. Maybe you want to go on a prayer retreat. Maybe you want to fast. Maybe you've never fasted in your life. 2016 might be a great year for you to do that. Go on a spiritual retreat. Any number of things. But spiritually, what is the specific thing that you feel like God is calling you to do in 2016? Go ahead and write that down. And then at the very end, there's a space in which you can write anything that you wish to yourself. I hope you are, and if you choose to write something down there, that's perfect. And if not, that's your call as well. We're gonna put all of these in your envelopes. If you want to, you can just leave them right there on your seat. You take a copy home with you. Put the other two in the envelopes. We will send you a copy of what you wrote in June. We will send you another copy of what you wrote in December. My prayer is as you get these things, that you'll be encouraged. And maybe in June you'll get it and you'll kind of be like, oh, geez, it's so difficult. And then you'll open up the mailbox and get a note from yourself saying, this is what I said I was going to do. It'll be an encouragement and an affirmation and a shot of energy for you. I know it's been that for a good number of people, so I look forward to that. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to pray for us, and then we'll go. And if you need time to write, keep writing. That's fine. You can find yourself a hard surface, write on that, or whatever it is you need to do. And we wish you a very good, very, very good 2016. Lord, thank you for a chance to come together. Lord, ultimately, the Bible tells us that we are to sanctify ourselves. We are to work on increasing our character levels, and we're to work on increasing our capabilities, and we'll work to increasing our capacities, Lord, getting better at the things that you've gifted us to do. Lord, some people call this New Year's resolutions. Some people call it goals. Peter wrote to us and he said, sanctify yourself. You can call it whatever it is, but we're supposed to be working on ourselves and with your grace and your help getting better. One of the ways to do this, Lord, is just by doing what we've done today. Sometimes we get so busy and life gets so crazy that we don't take time to do this important work, and we end up falling off a cliff and losing the most important thing. And that is this life that you've given us to live well. I pray, Father, that as every person in this room is writing or has written, that your Spirit would have guided their thoughts, and that they would, Lord, write things that, when accomplished, will in fact make them a significant gift to their families, to their friends, to the community, to the church, to the world, Lord. I pray that this would be a year, 2016, in which much good is done, in which our faith grows, our relationships are improved, our mental capacity is expanded. Lord, professionally, I pray that we do well. Lord, financially and physically, I pray that these things are increasing, Lord, as you would bless and guide. Thank you for every person in this room. Thank you for this day. Thank you for Mike and his ukulele. That was kind of neat. Lord, I pray that you would go with us now. In the name of Christ, we pray all of these things. Amen.